Hold on. I want to make sure that if you're new to California payroll as a payroll professional, you want to make sure because in the state of California, tipped employees must receive their full state or local minimum wage plus their tips.
Ooh,
Other states they have a lower tipped
good
minimum
call out.
wage,
Yes, good call
right?
out. Yep. So, right. So if you're payroll pro there, make sure your folks aren't getting shorted for that. You have the right minimum. Welcome back, folks. This is episode 121. It's about your paycheck and payroll as we continue to reformat our journey here. We're talking about both things, right? The first segment is going to be about the paycheck side of things geared toward employees. And then the second segment for the pros. Same subject from two different angles. So let's see how we go, man. Before we get into all that, how you doing, Walt?
Man, I'm good. Happy
What's
happy
today?
Monday to you.
Monday.
Right.
Monday when we
And
record. Who knows when you hear it?
you're good, man. Like, no complaints. It was a good Olympics. I don't know if you saw any of the Olympics.
I saw a little bit of stuff here and there. It was cool. I know I saw like the medals. Like we did, America. I heard some controversy though. I heard
Yeah.
that what was it like? I don't know if it was this year or last. Other countries called out the U.S. because we were reporting the total medal count to make it look like we were constantly over other countries. We weren't saying, oh, 10 gold, 3 bronze, 2
Uh,
2, right? We were saying the whole medal count. Oh, we are over. And I was listening to Trevor Noah,
yeah,
A's,
yeah,
and he said that other countries were calling us out for that. So I thought that was
yeah.
interesting.
But this year I could say that ESPN was tracking. They had a medal tracker
Oh, really?
on their
Oh,
site. Yeah,
cool.
so you can see by country how many gold,
Dope.
silver, and bronze they won. So I think the U.S. was tied with China for the most gold.
Oh,
So
wow.
40, they both won 40.
That's what's
And then
up.
the U.S. like just killed it in silver and bronze. So I had the most overall medals, and we were tied for the most overall gold this year
Oh,
as well.
wow.
Yeah.
Dope. No doubt.
Yeah. And another before I continue on, man, how are you?
No, I'm good. I'm good. You also, but you have in your notes here, Steph Curry, Olympics.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you saw the last two games because
I
the
didn't watch a lot of none.
so basketball is
Of
my
course.
first love. So like
Yep.
Steph he was off like the first couple of games. Like
Mhm.
he wasn't really hitting it. I think there was one game he missed all his shots. Like
Oh,
he didn't
damn.
hit like no shots. And then these last two games, like the semifinal and the final, man, he was just killing it. He
On
was
fire.
killing it. Like he was Chef Curry. You know what I'm
Chef
saying? Yeah. And so I know our episode today is about California. That's where he's from. So
Oh, no doubt. There
that's
you
what
go.
no, no, that's where he plays
Oh, I
from.
was gonna
That's where he
say he's
plays.
also from there? Oh, okay.
That's where he plays. I think he's from North Carolina, actually.
Ah,
But that's where he plays the Golden State Warriors. Just wanted to shout him out. Just love
that's what's
seeing him
up.
play. And look, there's a lot of talent. KD is older. LeBron is older. Steph is older. There's a
Oh,
lot of older players that are on the cusp of like probably retiring. They'll probably
mhm.
play a few more
Rolling
years,
ass out of the
but
league.
I don't know who's going to step up.
Let me ask you, and I'm sorry, folks, we always drift off on some unexpected, but who is your favorite basketball player right now still playing?
Right now, still playing. I would have to say Steph, man. I love
Oh,
watching him play. I love
okay,
watching the way he plays, man. I think he definitely changed the game.
okay,
With shooting. I think he's probably the
okay,
best shooter we probably will see for a long time. I think he is, bro.
okay.
Not put look, the
Who am I
difficulty of the
thinking of?
shots and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Who you
Better
think
than
about?
John Stockton?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
If you sit and watch some of the tapes of Steph and like some of the shots he makes and like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. He's like one of the best
But
shooters.
you're not a Golden State fan.
I don't mind them winning, but he's my team. I
My
gotta root
right,
for
that's what I'm
Miami.
saying. Okay, so that's your favorite team, but you're not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I get that too, because you can have favorite players, especially now. Like for me with football, I'm a Saquon Barkley fan.
Mm,
I can't like
the
I
Eagles.
can't like his team. I
Oh,
never that is never that's never
yeah,
gonna happen. But I'm a fan of him as a player. I
yeah,
was watching some of the Giants have Hard Knocks, the series, how
yeah.
whatever. So I've been watching some of that, and I'm just like, and they're going through that off season thing, and I'm like, how did y'all let him go like that? I get it though because they were saying, "Look, we have all these gaps in other places."
Yeah,
Anywho, all right, that's dope, man. That's dope. That's
yeah.
dope. What else? Are you watching anything recently that you like?
On TV, I finished Fallout. Fallout was good.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I finished that. That's that. I understand why it was nominated for 17 Emmys
Oh,
because it
dang.
was a really
Okay,
good show.
dang.
Um, I watched Presumed Innocent
Oh,
with
told you.
Jake
I told
Gyllenhaal.
you. Yep.
Man, that was an amazing show. I know it was a remake of the movie that Harrison Ford was in from back in the day.
Oh, I
It
saw that
it
movie,
was
but I didn't realize it was a I didn't even realize that.
yeah,
Okay.
it was a remake. So it was good, man. So it was good. And then I went to the movie theater and I saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Me too. Me too. Look,
What'd you think?
I think the movie was fine, but it was way too many F-bombs. But no, I felt like that just was I think the
Well, look,
F-bomb and the gore was
well,
excessive for no reason.
that's Deadpool in the comics. So that is true to who Deadpool is in the comics. So they were like, let's just pay homage to him in the comics. So that's how he is.
I guess, bro, but it's just every other word. Like it was just too much for me. But the movie was good. I
You
think it did a lot for the Marvel. If you're a Marvel fan and all that, it did a lot for the Marvel universe because
Yeah.
now they can start bringing all these lost characters and series and
Yep.
things in Fantastic Four, the X
Yep.
Men. Marvel universe includes X Men and Fantastic Four, but they have
Yep.
not brought it into the MCU yet in
Yep.
a real way, and I think this movie does that for the MCU if you're a fan. So,
We'll see,
yeah.
man. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. So, and then the last thing I had, was like it's been bothering me, but all the recalls that's been going on with the food lately.
Yeah.
Like
I
I've been
saw
seeing like the listeria, salmonella outbreaks, like for different
I think it
things.
happens
Boar's
there.
head.
But Boar's Head was the one did you? No, you didn't. My cousin sent it to me because we were Boar's Head fans, and I threw away I had some Boar's Head in the fridge when she sent
Yep.
it, and I was like, "Let me make sure she's not sending me some nonsense that she thought was real." I looked it up,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh, this is real." Threw that away, and now I'm still like I go to the store and I'm like, "Wait a minute, they're still selling it. Like, how do we know it
Hey,
was?"
some people might get sick. Some people like not.
Bro, but we have to expect because it happens every now and then where recalls come in. We
Yeah.
have to expect it, bro. The food
Hey,
was up.
somebody told me that it's probably the conspiracy theorists in them, but they were like, "Hey, every election year, something like this
Oh,
always happens."
that's look. Yeah, it is probably it's a mixture of things. So that's a good call out
Yeah.
though, because the news is good for that. The news
Yes.
and things are good for look at this, not this. Look at
Because the
happened in the right hand, not my left hand.
because those things always happen. There are always review, do the research. You'll
Yeah.
find some of it's
hun-
just not televised or to your point,
That's right.
but
If
it's
you
the
go to
stuff that's
FDA,
always happening.
they're
Yeah.
running a list of recalls.
Yeah.
You
All the
know what I
time.
mean? All the
Yeah.
time. That's right. Because our food chain is horrible. Food
Mhm.
handling is horrible. Forget about it. That's a whole no, I'm sure there's other podcasts that get into the health
Political
of the
stuff.
state of
Yeah.
our food. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And political things and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, man. Let's get into the pay stuff
Yeah.
and the pay news. What you got for us today?
So mine is a article. We're always talking about data and data security. So I found an article by helpnetsecurity.com, and it's
Mm-hmm.
talking about the major data breaches that have occurred in 2024. So just going to go through some of the names that have been hacked and
Oh
or
wow.
had
Yeah.
some data breaches.
Go for
So
it.
Trello happened in 2020, happened in January of this year, and they basically had emails, usernames, and full names and other account info that was compromised. They were listed online. A site called or a company called AnyDesk was hacked in 20 February of this year.
Oh, wow.
France Travail was a French national unemployment agency, and they suffered a data breach. And their people's social security numbers, a bunch of PII data
Yep.
basically was compromised. Nissan had a data breach in March this year that impacted over 100,000 individuals in December. Mitra which I don't know what that is, but they were breached by attackers via two 0-day vulnerabilities. So I don't know what that means. Something with connect secure VPN devices. And
Hmm.
so they said these attackers also managed to move laterally and compromise the company's network infrastructure as well. Dropbox, which is something that a lot of
Oh, a lot
us
of people use.
maybe have used. Like they breached Dropbox in May, and I didn't know about this until I saw this article, and I didn't know Dropbox had been breached like that. Again, those were passwords, usernames, phone numbers, API
Ooh.
keys, tokens, and multi-factor authentication data as well.
Oh, wow.
There was a BBC pension scheme in May where personal information of current and former BBC employees were exposed in a data breach. That was an in-house pension scheme. So somebody did it from the inside. And remember that stat that we saw that some of a lot of the crimes that occur when it comes to fraud and those different payroll crimes, it's
Yep.
an inside job with a
Inside
certain percentage of
jobs.
those. Yep. A company called Team Viewer had an intrusion, and the threat actor leveraged a compromised employee account to copy the employee directory data, which included like names, corporate contact information, and encrypted employee passwords from their internal corporate IT environment. Advanced Auto Parts,
Dang.
they were just hacked in July, so that's a month ago.
What it all says is anybody can get it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Anybody can
yeah,
get it. And I think that for our listeners is we have to protect our name and data, right?
mhm,
Pay attention. Google will tell you if you use Google, it tells you, hey, you got too
mhm,
many things. Your stuff is on the dark web, and you got too many repeating passwords. Your password's not
yeah,
strong enough. The websites like your boy Anthony that kind of told us somewhere. I forget the websites now,
yeah,
but I'm sure you could just Google data
yep,
breaches and look this stuff up. It's the information is readily available. We have to pay attention. We got to try to pay attention to our data because every guaranteed, if you have a
yeah.
digital imprint, you're at risk of getting it hacked or
And look,
you use.
that last sentence in the paragraph about Advanced Auto Parts, it said
Hmm.
that some of the reason that some of those accounts were able to be breached was because they did not have that multi-factor authentication.
Oh, they gave him a choice. See, but that's a call out though to the company. I think we have to force. I think not we companies should force it. Don't give
Yeah,
folks an option, and I think it's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get there. I think some companies are like, "Oh, I don't think about," because when you're in retail and you're in money, you want to make money. You don't want to create friction for your
yeah,
customer to get on your site and spend money and do things. Unfortunately, you have to. Like it they only want to put it around important things or like the I don't know what the important level is, but I think it has to be anything. Everything
yeah,
and anything, I think, has to be multi-factor. It's
yeah.
annoying, but it's necessary. Every company that you think of can be breached. When Anthony was on and I looked up because you could look up your own email address, the one that he had,
You
and
can
you could
see if it's on
see
the dark web.
what what companies you deal with were hacked.
Mhm, mhm.
AT&T came right up, my phone provider. First
Yep.
one, boom, hacked. Everybody,
Look,
it's unavoidable. You have to
yeah.
protect yourself.
Yep. I have Experian, and I think I pay like $4.99 a month or something like that. And they
Get an alert.
tell me
Yeah.
anytime my social is exposed, anytime a password is exposed. Google does that sometimes through my
Yes,
Google account.
yes.
It lets
We
me
don't pay
know.
attention, though. People ain't paying attention.
No.
People ain't paying attention. And guess what? If these hackers could dribble away $5 at a time, $1 at a time, $3 at a time, we
Yep.
ain't paying attention. But they could
Nope.
do that times a million in a day. It was like 6 billion transactions a day that, again, Anthony's websites had pointed
Yep.
out. And it's in the show notes in that episode. I forget what episode it is. We got to remember these. But yeah, good stuff, man.
What do you got for us?
So mine have two call outs for in the spirit of California for today's topic. California enacted heat protection for employees who work indoors.
Hmm.
So if you work indoors, the state must adopt safety measures that go into employers in the state of Cali must adopt safety measures that go into effect in most cases when indoor temperatures reach 82 degrees.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And shoot, I was in a business recently and inside was hot and it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'll need some fans or something. And
Yeah.
you know what the answer was? Oh, in the winter it's cooler. What? Yeah, but what about now?
Yeah.
You're gonna have somebody pass out from a heat stroke right now.
Yeah.
Forget about the winter.
Yeah.
What your customers are gonna pass out now. Cali's is oh wow, my boy. Sorry, Jay. And then there's another one real quick. Food workers in Cali are fast food workers are protesting against the minimum wage. They want it bumped another $4. They just got a $4 bump,
Wow.
16 to $20 an hour. Now they want it bumped another $4. Yeah, be careful, folks, because as we see, fast food can take your job.
Who
Right.
can't take your job? Also,
AI
AI.
can
Yeah.
take your job. And
Yeah.
you go into McDonald's here, wherever I go, there's more kiosks than people actually taking your order. Shoot,
Yep.
I went to a spot. Where was I? Oh man, I forget where I was. But it was like it was here in Boca, and I went and it was a burger spot. I forget the name of it right
Yeah.
now. You couldn't even order from a person.
Yeah.
You had to order through the kiosk,
Yeah.
and then somebody brought the food out.
Yeah. Look, man, and we've done a show. I think we did a show on this. We touched on this topic before about the increase in California. And remember, some of the stats or some of the data said that some restaurants or some businesses had to close their doors because they couldn't afford to keep paying their employees like that.
Yeah.
Because they did it and they were like, hey, we're gonna do right by our employees based on what the state says, but because we can't maintain it, we got to close our doors.
Yeah, and it's happening. It's happening, and I'm not sure the push for more money is the right angle. I don't know the answer to it, but
Prices are high, inflation's high, everything's high, especially in California, man.
yeah, everything's higher, and it's going to be a while. It's going to be a big shift. AI and robotics are going to shift the job
Yeah,
market. There's no way around it, folks. We have
yeah,
to adopt and adapt and progress. I don't know the fancy phrase for it, but get it together
yeah,
and start retooling, relearning. If you're flipping burgers right now, you might want to learn something else because that is something that a robot can do. And I don't want to, and maybe better than a person because look, I'd be open to it because guess what? I burn my food sometimes. For real,
yeah,
if I don't use a temperature thing, I'm burning, I'm overcooking or undercooking,
yep, yep.
right? And my girls are the first ones to tell me, this is, man, you know what I'm saying? I got tough
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah, you got to
Like,
tough it
be
out.
like, this ain't it. This
Yeah,
ain't it. Yeah. Look, we're gonna get into speaking of California. Oh, wait, let's pay the bills.
yeah.
Let's pay the bills.
We have a sponsor ad from our wonderful sponsors at TimeTrakGO. Summer has arrived, and with it, the perfect opportunity to plan your dream vacation. Whether you're envisioning a relaxing beach getaway or an action packed journey, TimeTrakGO is here to ensure requesting and approving your time off is hassle free. TimeTrakGO simplifies vacation planning for employees with its intuitive mobile app. Easily check available vacation time, submit requests, and manage everything on the go. For supervisors, approving requests is as easy as a single click upon notification.
Everyone deserves a break, and Time Track Go streamlines the process for all. Start your stress free vacation planning today with the free 14-day trial at timetrackgo.com. That is WTIMETRAK go.com. Or you can call 888 321 9922 to get them going. I'll cut that out.
I could have
Happy
left.
vacationing. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, man. So you got some great stuff here. You want me to start it off and you finish it up? We
Yeah.
got 6 there
Yeah, we got 6 for the
and
employee and 6 for the employer.
for Payroll Pro,
Yes.
more appropriately. I like to talk to the payroll pros.
The payroll pro. Yeah, you're right.
Um. Oh, why am I not? Anywho, so we're talking about some employee rights in California for the employees. This is California employees. One of the things we're gonna promise to deliver on this show is state by state go into the different things that impact the employee, what you need to know as an employee, arm you, give you some good information about what is your rights really as an
Mhm.
employee.
Yep.
So California, not on and you might be like, "Oh, why are you starting with Cali?" Because we did the numbers, right? We were like, "Where do we start? Alphabetically? Because
Mhm.
because I'm from New York and Walt was from Florida. Like, where do we start?" So we try to keep it data driven, and we just California literally has the most employees in the country. So we'll start there. And they're which also may be why they're the most employee centric, meaning they have a lot of rules that protect the employees. They're very employee favorable, not employer favorable.
Mhm.
So they offer some strong protections for workers in the United States, probably one of the most strongest state in the country. And here are some of the top. There are many more, and we'll continue
Yep.
to, we're going to bounce around different states and talk about different things, but we'll cycle back through, right? These are the main ones, right? So in California, number one is right to minimum wage and overtime. Minimum wage as a California employee, you're entitled to a state minimum wage as of 2024 is 16 per hour. But if you're fast food, it's more. So you got to keep in touch with that. And if you're in some cities, they break it down by city. Like they
Yeah.
look up the city that you're in California because you will have a different minimum wage per city. Not, I made a recent error and I said county. Counties are bigger, cities are within counties. So it's so
Yeah.
granular, granular that by city you get a different minimum wage. So look up the city that you're in minimum in California, make sure you're getting the minimum wage according to the city you work in. Not that you live in, you work in, okay?
Mhm.
Overtime pay. You're entitled to overtime pay 1.5, of course, is the rate for overtime. But in Cali, there's a 8 hour in most, let me clarify, let me put it into perspective. In most states, in every other state, well, in most states, overtime is by the work week, by the 40-hour work week, right?
Mhm.
Not by pay period, right? Now, if you get paid every 2 weeks, it's not over 80 hours in your paycheck or 86 in the semi-monthly. It's over 40 hours in a week. That's in most states. In Cali, it's over 8 hours in one day. Okay. And it goes into double time if you work 12 hours in a day. And there's another one here that's, oh, there it is. If you work more than 8 hours on the seventh consecutive day in a work.
Mhm.
So, folks, look, if you're in Cali, you got to look at your overtime. If
Yep.
is your overtime and is your minimum wage right?
Yeah, you wanna check it as much as possible, right?
Because
Because
yeah, it
the
just changed
employer
some
because
states.
because California is so employee centric, they're supposed to pay you whichever one is more
That's
beneficial for
right.
you as the employee. So either
Point that
that eight
out.
hours in the day or that 40 in the week, whichever one equals more for you. That's what they
There
should
you,
pay.
oh, good call out. Thank you for that. And then and if but the other one is if it conflicts, if it's all like a company can't say no, we go by federal. No, they have to go by what's the most favorable to you. So if your
Mhm.
city dictates more than the state dictates more than the federal, they have to go with your city. If the state is more, right, so it has to go more what's most favorable to you. So number two is meal and rest breaks. California is very aggressive on meal and rest breaks. Workers have to have a meal or rest break after 5 hours in a day. If you work more than 5 hours, you're entitled to a 30-minute unpaid meal break. If you work more than 10 hours, then you're entitled to another break. That's probably people don't even probably know this. You know what I mean? And if an employer fails to do this, they owe you an additional hour of pay for each day that this happens. There's a penalty. If you
Yep.
miss your break, there's a penalty that you get paid. Here's the
Mm.
caveat though. Employees can sign off, meaning they can waive that break and avoid the employer can avoid the penalty. And this is the situations where it makes sense. You might be like, why would I waive that off? You would waive it off if you're in a sales position, right? I've worked for a company where employees gladly waived it off because if they're right in the middle of a sale, they don't want to be forced to take the break. They have to make the sale. If not, they have to pass the sale to their colleague who's going to get the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not trying to do that. It's more than what the penalty would be and things like that. So keep that in mind as an employee. It can be waived, but keep in mind you have to waive it off. You
And
have
and
to
look,
sign.
and look, you want to make sure that not just you as the employee signs it, the employer has to sign it too.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So because if it's not signed, that you can still be eligible for that meal penalty.
Yep. Fully executed.
Yep.
And then as far as there's a rest break as well. For every 4 hours you work, a major fraction thereof, you're entitled to a 10-minute paid rest break. Okay. And then number three is paid sick leave. California is another one, one of many states. There are definitely a few. They're not the only ones here. A lot of states do the mandated sick, not so much on the
Mhm.
other parts. That more states are doing the sick part, but California is probably one of the first to do it. You accrue at least 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. You can use your sick leave to care for yourself or a family member or preventative care. So, but here's the thing, call out for other states. Every state is different for what you can use that sick time for, and every state is different on what they award per 30 hours, right? So make sure you're looking at what the mandate is for you if you have it. Usage, and I'm going to circle back to something on the accrual real quick, but the usage for employers, it may limit the amount of paid sick leave you can use to 24 hours. So they say, hey, you can accrue 1 hour for every 30, but it can be capped. It can stop accruing at 24 hours or 3 days per year. But some local ordinances, ooh, see, so by the locale, you may get more. And I
Yep.
think what, like San Fran is one of them, right? That you get more, if I'm not
Maybe.
mistaken.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like we've dealt with it. I think San Francisco gets more. Here's the thing about the accrual that folks don't realize. Some companies are generous with it. The calculation is at least 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, right? By law, if you don't hit the 30-hour mark, you don't get the 1 hour. Some companies will prorate it. They will give you a
Yeah.
fraction, meaning if you got 15 hours work, they'll give you the half hour.
Okay.
But that's not the law. It can be driven, so if you feel like I'm not getting that, it could be because you're not working
Mhm.
and it's 30 hours per week. So if you hit 59 in 2 weeks, you're still only getting the 1 hour. Some companies do prorate and will give you the fractions of the
Yep.
hour, but that's consider yourself a benefit because that is not the law. If it's to the letter of the law, I only have to give you for every 30 hours you work. So you have to get 60 to get 2 hours. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
I get
keep
what you're
that in
saying.
mind. Yeah, keep that in mind. And yeah,
So
that's it.
to your point about San Francisco, as of January this year, 2024, the law in San Francisco does require that employers provide and allow employees to use at least 40 hours or five
See?
paid days of sick per year.
So they cap it at 40, not 24.
Yeah, it was 24 before January this year.
Yeah. See, I knew one. I figured, yeah, because I think we had to update. Yeah. So pass it off to you, Walt, for the last three.
Yep. So number 4, final wages and wage statements. So final pay,
Oh
man.
gosh, final
Look,
pay.
if you're as an employee in California, you must receive your final paycheck immediately. If you quit
Yep.
without notice, your final paycheck has to be paid within 3 days or 72 hours. If your employer fails to pay you on time, you are entitled to waiting time penalties,
Ooh,
which is the equivalent to 1 day of wages for each day that your check is late, up to 30 days. So that means you can get 8 hours 1 day or whatever. So if you're scheduled for 6 hours a day and you work 30 hours a week, and that was 1 day for you, you'll get that 1 day up to 30 days. So it's 30
wow.
times 6 is 180 if your employer refuses to pay you. So there are
Wow.
penalties out there. Wage statements. Your pay stub must include details like your total hours worked, your gross wages, net wages, all your deductions, and applicable hourly rates. If these details are missing or incorrect, you can file a claim with the labor commissioner. So you have a right as an employee to do that. Number five, there's protection against wage theft. So there's a Wage Theft Prevention Act that was passed. You have the right to be informed about your wage rate, including any changes that occur.
Oh
Your
yeah.
employer must provide you with written notice that includes your rate of pay, the basis for pay, whether that's a salary, hourly, or commission, etc., and any allowances like that you may receive, like any meals, lodging, those type of things. And if you have to report any violations, if you believe your employer is not paying you correctly, again, you can file a claim with the California Labor Commissioner's office because you are protected against any retaliation for reporting violations as well. So California is like saying, hey, we have your back.
Yep.
Tell on them, run tell that if you need
Tell
to.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number six, before we move on to the payroll professional piece of this, classification and your employee rights. So that this part is saying whether you're an independent contractor versus an employee, right? So California law uses the ABC test to determine if you're an independent contractor or an employee. If you have been misclassified as a contractor, you may be missing out on those important benefits like overtime, unemployment insurance, and workers' comp. Or if you've been classified as exempt, um, and which means you're not entitled to overtime pay. You must, and to be classified as exempt, you have to meet certain salaried and job duty requirements. But if you don't meet those requirements, you may be entitled to overtime pay, even if your employer says you are exempt. Your employer has to follow those tests and make sure that you have met all those requirements. They just can't say, oh, because we want you to be salaried, we're going to pay you a salary.
Right.
That's something you want to look out for as an employee. And California does that, but other states do that as well. And so it's stuff you want to definitely look out for. We have some helpful links in here. We have the California Labor Commissioner's Office website. We have a link for that. We have a legal aid website that we have here, and we have the Department of Fair Employment and Housing site on here that we'll include in the show notes.
Nice.
So we're going to go into the second piece, which is for the payroll professionals and how you can navigate California payroll. Now, we may talk about some of the same stuff that we covered for the employees, but it's going to be from the payroll professional aspect, right? So there's six here. Do you want to do the same thing? Start off the first three and then I finish it out? Yeah.
Yeah. So for our payroll pros, right? Same thing, minimum wage compliance. You have to have, as of 2024, California's minimum wage change. You need to do your audits, right? And now, look, I'll get a little granted because it's the same thing. But from the payroll pros perspective, you want to audit a report with your employee, the wage, and the city they're in. And then build it into your spreadsheet for per city, what the minimum wage is. Go out and go to the Cali site. If you don't have the payroll source from Payroll.org, or if you're not connected to SHRM, or there's another good site out there called Mineral that
Mhm.
is compliance driven, right? Meaning if you have those sources, then you can feel fairly safe. I always double check because you never know. Because look, this stuff, well, and look, I say this a lot. Those sources, Payroll.org, which is an amazing source. Don't get me wrong. Mineral, SHRM, well, and there's probably a few more ADP websites, thing like that. It may not, you just gotta double check it to make sure it's up to date. If you're a day
Yeah.
late, you're gonna be a dollar short, literally.
Yeah.
So as a payroll pro, I think we should be building out those audits so that when you're doing minimum wage, you can't just check it by the state. You have to check it by the city for
Yeah.
California,
Yeah.
right? Because I've been caught out there in the past. Oh wait, ooh, this is the wrong one. So that's the call out for the employee, and
Mhm.
then you have tipped employees as well
Mhm.
that have different credits. And that it could also be state, local driven, right? So you want to, if you're in an organization that's tipped driven, you want to make sure you're following that. Overtime rules for Cali, same
So
thing. What's
hold on,
up?
hold on, hold on. I want to make sure that if you're new to California payroll as a payroll professional, employees, you want to make sure because and the state of California, tipped employees must receive their full state or local minimum wage plus their tips.
Ooh,
Other states they have a lower tipped
good
minimum
call out.
wage,
Yes, good call
right?
out. Yep. So right, so if you're payroll pro there, make sure your folks aren't getting shorted for that. You have the right minimum wages per yep, per Walt's word. Thank you, sir. And then for the overtime rules, again, same deal, right? It's the overtime by day, by week, whatever's most beneficial. But keep in mind the seventh consecutive work day in a week and what those overtime rules, the 12 hours in a day
Mhm,
in a rule,
mhm.
right? Is this even applicable to your business, right? If you don't have employees that ever work 12 hours, then okay, great. You don't have to run a lot of audits, right? You could probably just start with the hours to make sure nobody's working over 12. And then if they do, oop, I got to go look at my California rate for 12 in a day,
Yeah.
right? So I think as payroll pros, you just got to be mindful of what type of audits you need to run for your systems based on where you are. For the overtime, again, 8 in a day, 40 in a week, or whatever's more beneficial, like Walt
Mhm.
said, seventh consecutive day, double time for the 12 hours, eighth consecutive day, the seventh consecutive day as well. And I feel like there's a 6th and 7th, but don't quote me. And then calculating the regular rate of pay. The regular rate of pay includes more than just hourly wage. It also includes bonuses, commissions, and other forms of compensation. Failing to correctly calculate the regular rate can lead to costly penalties. So
Yep.
what it what it's saying is if your hourly employee gets flat pay amounts in their pay for some other things, and then they hit overtime. And I think this is a DOL as well, and not just Cali. You have to calculate the increased money to figure out the right overtime. It's an additional um complex calculation
Yeah.
to
So
say the least.
So think about this importance of this as a payroll pro and how it could impact you, your company, and in the environment there, right? So in California, employers that don't pay overtime at the proper rate or on time may face penalties up to $4,000 per employee. I just
Ooh,
Googled this. I because you said penalty, so I wanted to put it out there and put that statistic out there. If you work at a large company and you have 5,000, 10,000 employees, and like a bunch of them are non-exempt or OT eligible employees, let's say out of that 10,000, half of them are OT eligible, and nobody's getting paid OT correctly, it can happen
yep.
and is not being paid at the proper rate, you may face a fine up to $4,000 per employee. So 4,000 times 5,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah. And yep. And that's a great call out. And folks might be saying, um, oh, we're not going to get audited. The chances of us getting audited and blah, blah, blah. Not true. There's lawyers out there that are looking for, 20 million,
Yep.
20 billion, 20
20
million.
million.
Goodness gracious. There are lawyers out there that are looking for these things. They're they're dying for an employee to call
Mhm.
them with an issue because they know there's a ton of money to be had in the suing, like class action suits against a company. This stuff put your whole company out of business.
Yep.
So, and as a payroll pro, guess what? Guess who's going to get blamed? Oh, you guys didn't catch it. Oh,
Mhm.
HR payroll, y'all didn't catch this? Come on. This
Yep.
is about the audits that you should have, waving the red flag, documenting that you've sent it somewhere to someone at some point because it's a bit of CYA, but for me,
Yeah.
like our job, I dislike that in our job because like yeah, literally it's not it's cover the company's butt, not just your butt. You're trying to cover the company's butt in that instance. You're not gonna yeah, you may lose a job, you get another job. But the owners, the whole business, like that's a whole bigger deal. So it's
Yep.
not just, oh, I'm CYN. No, and that's maybe even how you frame it to whoever. They may be like, oh, you always reporting something. Yes, I'm
Mhm.
trying to be, what do I say all the time? We're not the fiduciary responsibility, but we have fiduciary responsibility to the company,
Yep.
right? We're dealing with these things. This is when you run your audits, as long as
Yep.
you're letting somebody know you are doing your piece. Yeah,
Yep.
you may not be the leader. And on the flip side of that, you can't get mad because your leaders aren't doing something about it, because they could
Yep.
be more risk tolerant than you are comfortable with.
Yep.
Is what it is. It is what it is. All you got to do is raise your raise the red flag, raise your hand, put it out there. And then the
Yep.
last one for me before I pass the mic to Walt is the meal and rest breaks. Same thing. Same things apply, right? The but what as payroll pros, what you need to know is there are good systems that you can build the automation into it so that when your employee hits the 5 hour mark, like they automatically get a meal break, or it's automatically given to that. Like there's automation in it,
Yep.
but you have to be careful because it could be more of a heartache than it's worth, right? Because it's, oh, that, because that's what it is. It's not, it's the penalty that it's automated. It hits the 5 hours. The system recognizes that there was no 30-minute meal
Mhm.
break in that 5 hour or after 5 hour period. It automatically adds 2 hours back to the employee.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I put the automation in once,
Yep.
and yo, I got such an upheaval of pushback on it, right? Yeah, because they were like, "What? That's killing the budget," right? It was in retail, so
Uh,
it was hurting the budget. P&Ls were going crazy in the red. They were like, "Oh my
yep.
god, what's going
Yep.
on?" And that's actually what prompted the rule that I learned, and it's a learning experience, right?
Mhm.
That's when I learned that employees can sign off on it, waving it off. No, no, we don't want it. We didn't, because then that's how I learned. Wait, they didn't take their
Yeah.
break. They're in the middle of a sale. Blah blah blah.
And
So
I think there's
go
even
ahead.
cases though. I still think there's cases though for employees that even though if they sign it, if they sign the waiver, but they still get reach that fifth hour, I think they're still. I could be wrong, so I could be wrong. So just let me know if I'm wrong here or anybody listening. But my understanding of it is that they still may be entitled to that payment, even if they sign something, even if it's fully executed.
Yeah, then it wouldn't. Yeah, would have to look it up, folks. I think the
Yeah.
point is make sure you're ironclad around the law.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it gets to that point, you really want an attorney to chime in,
Yeah.
and a specialist in Cali to chime in on it. So, point is, maybe don't put the automation in if it's causing that much. You may have to manually do these things and look back on it and do it in arrears, right? Look at the law, see how quickly that has to be paid out, because if you have a pay period, then you could be like, all right, I'm going to look at the pay period in arrears when the payroll passes, or if you're in processing, you have time in your processing window that you can look at it and say, okay, we have violations, what do we do?
Or, or if you want to look at it from a different view, you could, if you do automate it, you could use that to shore up education and training for the people
Yeah.
that need it and how to, and managing those time cards and those system things better. There could be
Yep.
opportunity there.
So that, I think that's the biggest call out for the pros around the meal breaks and rest breaks.
Yeah.
Is it happening? One, first of all,
Mhm.
do your audits. Hey, we're in violation. Like we're out of compliance because I did the audit on the payroll. Look, I just learned this. Blah, blah, blah. Here's the law. I did the audit. We're out of compliance.
Yep.
That's the
Yep.
call out for the meal and rest breaks for the pros. And then I pass it to Walt for the rest.
All right. So again, we're covering some of the same things. Number four is that Wage Theft Prevention Act. So those wage statements, making sure that we are being compliant with those laws that revolve around the pay stubs, and then making sure that they include those specific informations like the gross wages, the total hours worked, those all deductions, net wages, and all those rates, right? The timely payment of wages for final pays, and then the things that can go into with those penalties that can add up, you know what I'm saying? If you have a high earner or whatever paid them their final check for 30 days, that can add up. You know what I'm saying? So like you
Yep.
want to make sure that you do that
And
requirement. Go ahead.
hold on real quick. Yeah, there's a call out for the gosh, the final pay. Oh, some of the tools that now exist that didn't exist before
Yeah.
are those on-demand payment solutions that that we have that
Yes.
exist now, right? You can push a payment to debit cards. You can
Yep.
push a payment to a digital wallet if it's set up. But these things have to be set up in advance. It may not
Mhm.
always be immediate. Your company may offer the technology and the function, but if you don't sign up and set it up and
Yep.
implement,
Yep.
then you may not be able to use it that day and be like,
Exactly.
hey, it's a 4-week turnaround. Then you can use it instantly. Think about those things because you may have the tools, but you don't have it set up.
That's a great call out. That's a great call out because one of the pain points or one of the issues I've experienced in my own career is assuming that the system was set up properly,
Hmm.
assuming that all companies that were under our umbrella were enrolled in that service, thinking that it was done automatically. And nope, the payroll providers, nope, sorry, this wasn't set up for these newer acquisitions that you have. And you're like, ah,
Oh, yes, if you're in the business of M&A and you're rolling new EINs in, new entities in, new pay groups in,
yep,
and you have to build that checklist to
yep,
make sure everything is set up for those. Shoot, it could be as easy as this is off topic, but could be as easy as you didn't put the location address in so that the
yep,
live checks go to that place and assign it to the employees. Like it's all your setup, right? Make sure
yep,
you have good checklists. Again, if you're in the business of setting up new groups and you're rolling
yeah,
up if you're in M&A, period, however
yeah,
that looks for you, you gotta have good checklists for integration.
yep.
Great
Number
call out.
5. Yeah, number 5, sick leave requirements, right? So again, that paid sick leave, because California does mandate that employees accrue paid sick leave at a rate of at least 1 hour per every 30 hours worked, and the employers can limit that to 24 hours or 3 days per year. But there are some local ordinances that you need, like those cities like San Francisco or LA,
Let's go.
who
Yep.
have more generous sick leave requirements. So
Mhm.
pros, we need to be aware of those specific local regulations that may apply, right?
Yep.
And look, you may have an employee that drives into LA or lives somewhere else, or drives into San Francisco, and it could be based on where they work, not where they
Where they
live. So
work.
you want to look at that, right? Oh, and then
Absolutely.
the last thing is the classification of employees. We talked about that being an independent contractor versus an employee. The codified, they passed a law in 2019 that codified the ABC test, which determined if an employee was of a worker was a contractor, independent contractor, or an employee. Misclassification can result in or lead to significant
Penalties.
penalties. So look, one of the penalties that you can face and that employers can face is a penalty of $5,000 to $25,000 per violation for involuntarily misclassifying an employee as an independent contractor. So if companies could be doing this, we have, in our true payroll crime stories,
All the
how many
time.
people have done stuff knowingly to avoid taxes, to was it evade or avoid?
Aid.
Was that
No, they're evading. They're
yeah,
evading, not avoiding.
they
Yeah.
evade those
Avoid is
taxes.
legal. Evade is
Yeah.
illegal.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
Word.
a lot of money for every instance that can happen, right? So you want to make sure as a payroll, even if you're not responsible for it, ask the question as a payroll. Say, hey, could you run this audit for me? Are we doing this audit? Are we making sure that our employees are classified correctly in this state? Because there could be a bunch of fees that could add up.
Mm,
Think about the cost. Like the cost isn't just the employee cost. There might be attorney fees that go into this,
yep.
liquidated damages, interest, and
Yep.
court costs that you may have to go through if there's
Oh, yeah.
litigation. You know what I'm saying?
Back pay, forget
Yep.
about it.
Yep.
And then this kinda does or it should, depending on how big your shop is, it should be more on the HR people, not the
Mhm.
payroll processing people. We gotta be careful how we say it because,
Could be
yes,
both.
you should be aware of it,
Mhm.
but again, you're raising the red flag because the classification process is a conversation. It's an
Yeah.
interview. You have to talk through things because there are multiple points of how an employee is classified versus a contractor. So it's not is sometimes it's beyond our scope. So just depending on how your shop is built, your organization, your HR payroll departments are built, you could be just raising the as a payroll pro, you're raising the hey,
Yep.
this don't look right. But think about it also, you may not have any visibility into it because if it's already happening before you get there, that means they're already on a AP side. You don't even know as a payroll
Yeah.
pro who's being paid by AP.
And
You
look,
don't know.
you made a good point. You made a good point when you said this statement earlier. I'm not saying it verbatim, but you said they're going to ask you, why didn't you catch this?
That's
It
right.
may not be you. They may ask you and somebody else, why didn't you catch this team?
Yep.
And the response you give can't be,
I
that's
don't know.
just how it was always been done.
No. You know what I've been learning and been challenged with at this stage of my career is how
Yeah.
to articulate things properly and well. We know the answer sometimes, but it's so ingrained in like our answers almost like because
Yeah.
that's not articulating anything.
No, it's
You
not.
know what I mean? For someone who doesn't know this content and stuff, just because you say so is not an answer. Why is it this way? And it takes
Mhm.
time, bro. And that's been a lot of my struggle and challenge recently is like how to articulate things properly so that you're explaining to your colleagues and your leaders, this is why we do things the way we do it. And this is why it has to be done this way. This is
Yeah.
why it's important. This is why it's a compliant. And why are we classifying this? Because there's a potential penalty, because there's a potential
There's lots
audit
of
that can be
potential.
done. It's a
Yeah.
potential, but that's it's articulating it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because is not a good answer. And then real quick before we move on, and I just want to circle back to the sick leave part for the payroll pros.
Yeah.
Remember what I said, check your systems to see how it's calculating that 1 hour for every 30. Are
Mm.
you being more generous? Look, I'm not saying that we should be less generous, but if your company's looking to save money, that could be a place to save it because
Yeah.
if it's grant or it's a place where you can get a win to the employees and you can articulate it to your employee workforce. Hey, we actually go above and beyond the state
Mhm.
mandate and we grant you more benefit than the law allows.
Yeah.
So it's all about how you articulate it, right? If you're in a payroll pro and HR, that's an easy win
It's
to
a great
say,
call out.
hey, this is a benefit that we don't have to give you, but we do give you. We give you more than the calculation requires.
It's a
And
great
then
call out,
again,
man.
yeah, no doubt. And just classifications, again, classifications, it's a teamwork effort. If you happen to notice something on the payroll side, because again, if folks are already being paid as a 1099 through AP, you have no visibility. So
Yeah.
that's the answer. To circle back to what you just said, how come you didn't catch it? We don't have any visibility into 1099 employees. They're paid from a different team. We were unaware of this fact.
Yeah. See, what had happened is not a good answer,
See,
right?
what happened is not a good answer. Right. Exactly right. No,
Yeah.
you saying I don't know in a very educated or articulate way. There's a different way to say, oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Mhm.
Because then now it seems like you should have known. But
Yeah.
if I articulate it in a way that says, hey, that we don't have any visibility into these
Mhm.
payments. It's not our department. We're not privy to that data
Yep.
or that processes. We pay W-2 employees. Payroll does not issue 1099s or the payments that contribute to the document. Now it's more articulate. Now
Yep.
it's okay, I'm asking the wrong people. I got to go ask AP now. I got to go ask HR now.
Yep.
Really, right? HR, because that has been a recurring theme of HR is we want HR to track all the payments that we make to people. Why? Because now they have somebody to blame if employee classification is wrong,
Yep.
or rather, contractor employee classification is wrong. Who owns that? That's what companies are realizing more and more these days is, wait a minute, it's true. HR should have visibility over this. My bad, man. That
No, you're good.
detract.
No,
Almost done.
you're good, man. You're good. That was a good call out, bro. So before we conclude this episode, as always, we're going to finish it out with a safe talk question. So, Brian, do you think that the state of California is too employee centric?
No. What do you think?
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
No,
I don't think.
not at all.
I
Yep.
think. Do I think they do everything perfectly? Probably
No.
not. No,
No.
but I think they
Is it?
do stuff focused for the employee, which I think
Yep.
a lot more states could learn from and probably possibly do it better.
Is it hard to be on the back end of administering these rules? And yes, it
Yeah.
is. It is hard. As a practitioner, as a leader, as a domain expert that has to service California, yes, it's hard. It's
Mm.
not easy to do these things. It's not easy to keep up with all of the regulations on it. But it's what grounds me in it is that this is what's best for our employees.
Yeah.
And too often employees are getting burnt across the country,
Yeah.
right? Federal minimum wage is what, still 7.25.
Mm.
Teachers, I'm literally seeing some of the most amazing teachers that I've seen leave the business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Teachers that my kids loved and impacted, they're leaving because there's not enough money.
Look, 725 for federal minimum wage is crazy. There's some towns in California that it's 729 per gallon for
For
gas.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's daycare. Like,
Yeah.
the folks who are taking care of our children. Hold on. Charlie, get down. This fool trying to take food from the table.
Get down on it.
Get down. Yeah. So, yeah, man, no, I don't think they're too employee centric at all. Again, and I know payroll pros are like, what? Oh my gosh, California's so tough. Yeah, it is tough. It is tough.
Yes.
But we're also employees.
Anything, I may not be saying it verbatim or saying it, but anything worth having is worth what?
Oh,
Is it-
nothing
Nothing worth having. Nothing
is
worth
easy.
having. It's easy. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. It's not easy, but I don't, no, I don't think they are at all. Yeah. No,
Oh
man.
man.
And that, yeah, when I saw it earlier, I was like, nope. End the conversation. Like, some of our
Nope.
safe talks are hard. Some of it's so gray area, and I'm sure politicians and business folks will have plenty to say about it and all
Nope.
that. That's fine. I get it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it doesn't stop people from growing in Cali. Doesn't stop you from starting a business in Cali. Doesn't stop you from buying that business in Cali, right? Yeah, but if you have so much to say about it, don't do business in California, and that's not happening. Silicon Valley. It doesn't. Apple's based in Cali, right? Some of the biggest businesses in the world are based out of California. So, which is probably why, again, the most employees, so they need the most protection.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. On that note, we love you. I think I see a new format forming, right? It's developing right in front of everybody's eyes and ears, how we can talk about things, the same subject, but talk about it for the employee and talk about it for the payroll pro behind the scenes.
Yep. I love it,
Yeah.
man.
Me too. All
All
right,
right,
bro.
peace.
Peace.
Before we sign off, here are a couple quick things. Don't forget to follow It's About Payroll on LinkedIn and It's About Your Paycheck on Facebook and TikTok.
Thank you for being part of our payroll community, and thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.